Anthony Edwards has been absolutely horrible except one game. He showed up in game number 3, and everybody was like, oh, that's what we want to see with Anthony. And then after the game, he was bragging and pressing and saying, listen, I got my feet under me. I think I'm going to be a different player. And then all of a sudden in game number 4, he did it once again. What a coinky-dink. He didn't show up to the game. And then after the game, I wouldn't say he was pointing fingers, but he wasn't taking responsibility for losing that game. Everybody but him actually had a good game. Julius Randle had a good game, and all the secondary players they needed to have big games, if Anthony Edwards even scores 25 points, they win. They absolutely win. But it was just absolutely embarrassing. And again, Anthony Edwards doesn't take responsibility. And that'll go to me, and I've said this many, many times. This has gone through what I have said over the last couple of weeks. Is Anthony Edwards Kevin Durant? And Anthony Edwards' favorite player is Kevin Durant. Growing up, he watched Kevin Durant. But Anthony Edwards obviously realizes that Kevin Durant didn't win until he went to Golden State. He couldn't win as the guy. He had to go to Steph Curry's team with Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and all the talent that they had over there and win with that team because he couldn't do it himself. And he did have Russell Westbrook and James Harden, 2 losers that never have won. So now you're looking at Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards had Karl Anthony Towns. He now has Julius Randle, who's playing the best basketball of his career in the playoffs, and they still can't get over the hump. So you wonder, is Shai Alexander the reason why OKC has been dominating the series? And the answer is no. Guys like Williams, Jalen Williams, when he is playing at the top of his game, and you're getting secondary offense, 34 points or even 24 points from Jalen Williams, there's no way you're beating the OKC Thunder. And here's another thing. Anthony Edwards and this Timberwolves defense has been one of the best defenses in the league all season long. Where is their defense? Where has their defense gone in this series? And don't tell me Shai is that great of an offensive player where you can't stop him. I can name a bunch of great offensive players in the past that had great playoffs and then they play against a great defense, a.k.a. do we remember the Toronto Raptors? Remember Kawhi Leonard? Remember who they played in the final, Speedy? Do you remember that?
The Golden State Warriors.
The Golden State Warriors. And what did Kawhi Leonard have to do? And yes, obviously Klay Thompson went down and Kevin Durant wasn't 100% healthy.
But the Raptors are already up 3-0 at that point.
What did they do? Well, they put him on Steph Curry. They put him on Kevin Durant. When you have a defensive player of that magnitude and you can put him on anybody to defend multiple positions and actually have him shut down that player, that gives you an advantage. Why hasn't Anthony Edwards, who's a great two-way player, defending multiple positions? And when he is on the players that he should be defending, he doesn't even know how to play the defensive side of the ball. And Jalen, we all know Julius Randle doesn't play defense, but Dante DiVincenzo does. Those other guys do. It's been a poor showing for the Timberwolves, who went here last year. They were a Western Conference team. They went to the championship last year, lost against Dallas, and by the way, Anthony Edwards played unbelievable throughout the playoffs last year until they played against the Dallas Mavericks, and it had a no-show for Anthony Edwards. If Anthony Edwards cannot play under pressure, well then, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Edwards needs to go somewhere where he's the secondary player and he's the second best player on the team because he can't take the pressure. Anthony Edwards cannot withstand the pressure of no matter where he's playing, where everything is on him. He didn't like the fact that they traded Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks. He was very upset in the beginning of the season. But as soon as Julius Randle got healthy and Dante DiVincenzo settled in, this team was playing great two-dimensional basketball. As a matter of fact, they were a better two-dimensional basketball team than they were last year with the players that they brought in from that trade. Unfortunately, right now, when you can use somebody like Karl Anthony Towns that gives you mismatches against, obviously a team like OKC that you do have Hartenstein, they do have length, but they've had problems over the last couple of months against big, long, big men that can shoot the ball. They don't have that. They don't have a guy that can do that. We all know what they have. And by the way, they've had problems rebounding the ball in this series. You look at OKC, they're a good rebounding team, but when you're having, and I'm not saying Hartenstein's not a great rebounder, he's not a great player. Hartenstein really didn't become a great player. He was a journeyman in the NBA until he went to the New York Knicks. When he found himself under Tom Thibodeau, he got a big-time contract. What the Knicks did not want to lose. If the Knicks could have brought him back with the players that they added in the offseason, they would have. And maybe this is a different series even with Hartenstein. But, again, it's grit, and they don't have any. Edwards doesn't have any grit. The players that they have over there, there's no grit over there. And Julius Randle, we all know what Julius Randle is. When the going gets tough and the pressure's on Julius Randle, he is the bricklayer. I've been saying this over and over and over again. And by the way, the most consistent player in this series is Julius Randle.
He's getting frustrated. I mean, he took 13 shots, Errol. He complained in game one when he took how many shots? 13 shots in game one as well. This is your own fault. Like, take the shots. Demand the ball. Speedy, you're right. I don't believe in iso ball as being a solution. But every once in a while, if you can get a switch off a door to get a pick and roll on him, my goodness, get that guy off of you. This game 5 that's coming up for Oklahoma City and Minnesota, guys, that one's not going much more. There's no way. That was their chance. They gave everything they had. It was a close game the whole way. They blew them out in game 3. You know, it's a great response, but you got to do it consistently to be great in the NBA. And that's what Anthony Edwards is going to have to learn. You know, I was most critical of him earlier on, you know, even before the playoffs, because I hated the stuff he was saying. Mm-hmm. I really just hated the stuff he was saying. It didn't sound like a guy I want to be the best player on my team. In fact, it reminds me a little bit of Karl Anthony Towns, who I don't want him to be the best player on my team. I want him to be the second best player, maybe. If somehow, you know, every once in a while OG plays better than him or something like that. But I'd like him to be my second best player. And Anthony Edwards might have to be somebody's second banana before he wins a title if he's going to play like this when people are counting on him, man. Because I don't like what I see. The eye test is bad, Errol. And we know you're a big eye test guy.
I'm also an Anthony Edwards fan. And I don't know if he can win without playing with another superstar right beside him. And it just seems like that's the route it's going. And I think, obviously, Alex Rodriguez now owns the team. And I don't see Alex Rodriguez trading away his best player. But if you have a chance to probably add two young players to this roster in a future 3-4 first-round draft picks, maybe that's the route you go because Anthony Edwards is just not going to get it done. Remember with the Timberwolves, with Stephon Marbury and obviously Kevin Garnett, they traded Stephon Marbury, and what did they do? Then eventually they traded Kevin Garnett because they couldn't get over the hump. They couldn't win with these two guys. And again, they have not played in the finals. So this team has been an expansion team, and they never played in the finals. With the talent that they've had over the years, they have never gotten over the hump to get into the finals. With all the trades they've made, they had Karl Anthony Towns, they had Butler, Jimmy Buckets, they had Tom Thibodeau, and they had Anthony Edwards there. And then they make a trade with Utah. They add another big man. It just doesn't – they gave up 5 first-round draft picks, and they still can't get over the hump. To me, Anthony Edwards is the problem.